and I'd like to tell you a story. This is actually an Indian legend. It's the legend of Jumping Mouse. Once upon a time, there was a little mouse who lived in a big mouse community. He was always very busy gathering nuts and berries because the winter was coming, you see, and he needed to store them up. But this little mouse, he was different. He was a very unusual little mouse because he heard a strange sound. He heard a strange sound, and he didn't know what it was, and he would stop, and he would lift his head and wiggle his ears and round his tail, go around and round, and he would wonder what that sound was, but he never could figure it out. And he would ask the other mice if they heard that sound, and they said, no, we don't hear that sound. You're just a crazy little mouse. You better get busy picking nuts and berries, for winter's coming. You need to get serious now. Little mouse, you always heard that sound. One day, someone spoke with him. He said, hello, little mouse. And he jumped up. He was such a shy, timid little mouse. His heart was beating in his chest. And he didn't trust anything or anyone. But he turned around and he saw that it was just Mr. Raccoon out for a walk. And he said, Mr. Raccoon, do you hear that roaring sound? And the raccoon said, oh yes, I know what that is, little mouse. Would you like to go see it? I can take you to see it. Little mouse said, yes, I'd like to see what that sound is. So that's what they did. They began to walk across the desert. Little mouse following the raccoon. Till they finally got to a great river. And there was the round sound of roaring waters at the waterfall. And Little Mouse didn't know what to think about this. The river was so big he couldn't see where it started, where it ended, and it was so far across he couldn't even see far across there. And then Raccoon said, well, Little Mouse, I want you to meet a friend of mine. He's out there on the lily pad, Mr. Green Frog. So, oh, hello, Little Mouse. I've been waiting for you. I'm the green frog of the river. He said, Little Mouse, come a little closer so I can see you. And the mouse said, well, aren't you afraid out there on that lily pad on that great river? It's really scary to me. And his little heart was beating in his chest. And the frog said, oh no. He says, I can see everything around me from the lily pad. I can see all those that come to drink at the river. He said, in the wintertime, when the cold comes and the ice freezes over the water, then I go underneath the river, and I have a nice place under there that I can stay. And then in the spring, when the water begins to melt, the ice, I come out, and the lily pad begins to grow, and then I can hop up on the lily pad again and enjoy a wonderful summer again. Little Mouse, would you like some medicine power? Little Mouse said, medicine power? Well, yes, I'd like some medicine power. So he said, okay, what you must do is that you must crouch down as far as you can and leap up as high as you can. Can you do that? And the mouse said, yes, I'll try that. And his little heart was still beating in his chest. He was so shy and afraid. But what he crouched down as far as he could, and he leaped up as high as he could. And then he went kerplash right into the water. And boy, was he mad. He said, "You've tricked me, Green Frog. You tricked me. Now I'm all wet." And Green Frog said, "Well, you're not hurt, are you?" He said, "No, but I'm all wet." He said, "Well, you need to get out of the river and you'll be just fine. What did you see when you leaped up, by the way?" And the mouse thought, and he said, I saw a sacred mountain, and it had snow on top, and there were oranges in the sky, and yellows and golds and pink, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, a sacred mountain. And the frog said, "Little mouse, your name has changed. Your name is now Jumping Mouse." Ah, Jumping Mouse. He couldn't wait to get back to the mouse community, tell him what had happened to him. He was so excited. Remembered the roaring river and the sacred mountain. He saw them all. All of them he saw. So he dragged his little wet fur body all the way back the desert to the mouse community. And he went up to the first mouse and he said, "Guess where I've been?" And the old mouse, they looked at him and they said, "You're all wet. A creature must have swallowed you. And you must be poisoned because he spit you out. And if you're poison to the creature, then you must be poison to us too. You better get busy and pick some nuts and berries. Winter is coming. Won't know what this is you've been doing, but you better get dried off and get back to picking nuts and berries." But you see, little Jumping Mouse couldn't forget the roaring river and the sacred mountain. He could not forget it, wouldn't leave his thoughts. And so he felt that he really needed to go see the sacred mountain. He needed to go. Of course, he'd been warned not to leave the mouse communities because there are these dark spots, which are eagles that love to eat little mice, and it's very dangerous to leave the mouse community where they're all hidden underground, you see. But he decided to go anyway, so he walked to the very edge of the mouse community, and he looked up into the sky, and he didn't see any black spots. So he gathered up his courage. He was still kind of shy. His heart was really beating in his chest. He was a shy, timid little mouse. Even though he was now Jumping Mouse, he was still really shy. And so he gathered all his energy together and he ran as fast as he could across the desert till he came and stopped at a sagebrush, a big sagebrush. And there he saw an old mouse, a very old mouse. The old mouse had been there a long time. And he said, "Oh, Mr. Old Mouse, you've been here so long and you must have seen all the creatures of the desert pass in front of you, haven't you?" He said, Yes, I've seen the great buffalo and the wolf and the snake, and I've just seen all of them. I've watched all of them pass by. Yes, I've watched them pass by. Well, Jumping Mouse said, "Well, do you know about the great river and the sacred mountain?" And the old mouse said, "The great river I've heard about, but sacred mountain, I don't think it exists. There's no such thing as a sacred mountain. Of course, it doesn't exist." Well, Jumping Mouse said, "Well, I've seen it, and I'm going to see it. I'm going to top of the sacred mountain." And the old mouse said, "Oh, that's very foolish. You better stay here with me where it's a safe comfort zone. And I have lots of things to eat, lots of nuts and berries, and a very soft bed. Better stay here where it's safe."